Well, I'm so glad to have Trisha Tierney with me today. She is from macOS Product Marketing, and as you know, macOS Ventura just launched, and we want to talk about all the new features and give you some productivity tips as you use Ventura. Trisha, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me today. We're thrilled with the latest release of macOS Ventura, and I'm excited to be here to talk about Ventura and all of its incredible features.
Absolutely, and let's talk about continuity camera because I think it's one of the biggest life improvement features for most users. We're recording with Riverside right now, and you're actually using your iPhone as a webcam directly in a web browser. It's being recorded, obviously with remote work and the prevalence since the pandemic, plus people getting into video podcasts and doing more video content. How did you envision people using continuity camera and how it would benefit them?
Yes, continuity camera is a fantastic new feature that lets people use their iPhone as a webcam for their Mac. And it unlocks these powerful new video effects for users running Ventura on any kind of Mac. So today there are a huge number of people that are video conferencing as part of their daily workflow, and a top goal of ours was to make it incredibly easy to switch to your iPhone as a webcam for your Mac. So all you have to do is bring your iPhone nearby and then place it in a stand on your Mac, and your Mac camera automatically switches over to the iPhone, so it's a really seamless process. And just as you'd expect, it works great with FaceTime. But it also works with other apps like Zoom, Teams, WebEx, and pretty much any other video conferencing app out there, including Riverside, which we're using right now. And when you're using continuity camera, it unlocks these great effects. So you can access center stage on any Mac, and that means if you move around or stretch your legs, the camera is going to follow you around, keeping you in frame. Portrait mode, which I use a lot, gives you this beautifully blurred background, and it keeps the focus on you. Studio Light also takes us to the next level, dimming the background and then illuminating your face, giving you this effect of using a ring light even if you're not. So it's really amazing that we can do this all in software with continuity camera.
Yeah, it's one of the magic Apple moments too. Like when I first updated to macOS Ventura, seeing the iPhone just available to choose as a camera, even if you're just recording locally in QuickTime or other applications, just how seamless it is. And, there've been lots of third parties before, and they might still offer other features now, but just that ease of use, and it gives people access to the best camera they probably have available to them to use, whether it's in video conferencing or making content.
Yes, and one feature that we're really excited about for those using continuity camera is desk view. So with desk view, you can show a top-down view of both your desk and your face at the same time in the call. And to make this happen, desk view uses some advanced math behind the scenes to split the ultra-wide camera feed into two. And it even corrects for distortion, so if you have a paper, those edges are going to look just perfectly square in the call. And this makes things that were rather hard to do so much easier. You can imagine tackling a math problem with a tutor remotely. You could read to your child when you're on a business trip. You can even use it to showcase different artistic techniques like shading or hatching. We are really excited to see all the ways users and creators will put desk view to use.
So one of the other big updates is system settings in macOS Ventura, and it had some various feedback, over the summer and during the beta process. But as I've been using system settings, it's been working really well, especially search. And that's the thing where, there's obviously so many settings in there just as the nature of the application. But search has been very quick. I found it, I'm able to find things quickly. So what are some of the advantages and benefits now of this new design and the new system settings app?
There's a number of different advantages. Obviously, one of the things that can help you work faster and be more productive is configuring your device to work just the way you want it to. And when we were thinking about designing the new system settings app, we really wanted to make it faster and easier for people to find the settings that they want to configure. So the first thing we focused on was making it even easier to navigate. So there's a new sidebar with all of your top level settings and a pane on the right-hand side where you can set things up. And this design makes it really easy to switch between different panes without having to drill in and out of that old top level view. And the search experience, like you said, offers a great way to find what you need. Now, the second thing that we focused on was delivering a more consistent experience between macOS and iOS settings. So today, so many of our Mac users have an iPhone, and we think that if you discover something great on one device, that it should be effortless to find it on the other. And this new design offers a lot more consistency between the two platforms, which is so important as we continue to grow and add even more new features.
One of my favorite new just slight changes is before, if you wanted to hide or show things like the Bluetooth icon in the menu bar, you had to go specifically to Bluetooth, toggle it off there. Then if you wanted to go to do the Wi-Fi, turn it on or off, you have to go to Wi-Fi settings. Now that's actually all in one pane in the control center in settings, and you can pick and choose what you'd like to see in your menu bar, and rather than jumping to all these different panes. there's also some great tips. So we want to go into productivity tip mode. Let's give people things that they can do with Ventura that maybe they couldn't do before. And one of the great improvements I have found is in Spotlight, which is such a sneaky great feature on the Mac just in general. I find, people just don't naturally know about it or use it. And I always tell people, click that magnifying glass menu bar, command space, either way. It's how I launch applications. It's how I search for files, and it's so useful. And it gets some powerful features in macOS Ventura. It's actually greatly improved. Why don't you tell us about some of those new things?
Absolutely. I mean, Spotlight is a cornerstone of the Mac experience. People love how Spotlight makes it effortless to search across the system and on the web. And you can even do things like launch apps or perform quick calculations on the fly. It's a tool that I use all the time in my daily workflow, and it's top of my list for new users to learn. In Ventura, Spotlight gets more new capabilities, and many are going to find these quite useful. First, Spotlight adds support for Quick Look. So when you're searching for a file, you can just press the spacebar in a result to bring up a quick preview of it. It's also possible to search for images not only in Finder, but in one go, you can search for images in Finder, Photos, and on the web. And Spotlight even adds support for live text and images so that you can find photos based on the text appearing inside those images. The Clock app is also coming to the Mac in macOS Ventura. And as a result, you can now start timers right from Spotlight. And this is a great way to help you better manage your time. Plus, we have these beautiful new rich results that you might be familiar with from the iPhone. They're bringing together handy information from multiple sources into one powerful result. So you'll be able to quickly get information about businesses, sports, and movies. Spotlight is such a great tool for users. It's really designed in a way that never takes you out of the moment, and we think our users are going to love these new updates.
Absolutely. And I love also launching shortcuts directly in Spotlight, which is a new feature in Ventura. And so if you've created shortcuts on your own or added them from the gallery, command space, start typing the title of a shortcut, hit enter, and it just runs. But you mentioned a second ago too, live text, which we had live text in images before, and it's such a cool feature. I've actually done some tip videos on even incorporating like currency and language translation with live text, which is awesome. But I think Ventura also added live text in video. Can you tell us about that?
So live text is a fantastic feature. We launched live text a little over a year ago in macOS Monterey, and we're now bringing it to video this year. This means that you can now interact with text on a paused video frame. So imagine, you're watching a video tutorial, say for a cooking show or a software tutorial. You can now pause on a frame and copy text from the video right into your notes. And you can even translate text, which could be, really handy if you're traveling, or if you see a phone number or a website URL at the end of the video, you can just click on it to start a call or visit that site. So it's a super powerful mechanism for interacting with text. Now, another feature that I think is super cool is subject lift. It uses a lot of the same smarts to lift the subject off of an image and remove its background. And when you do, you can then, when it does that, then you can paste it into any app on the system. It's kind of like magic when you use it. I'm sure you had some experience using it. Have you, Stephen?
Absolutely. And it's one of the most viewed, I think, TikTok tips that I put out there because it blows everyone's mind. If you could just, tap and hold on an image or click and drag on a Mac and bring it over. And I don't know for sure. I don't expect you to answer this directly, but it's almost like you had YouTubers in mind who make thumbnails of themselves and drag themselves onto other backgrounds because it is a perfect YouTube thumbnail creator tool. And speaking of images, iCloud Shared Photo Library, which obviously is a feature across all of the Apple devices, which is incredible and something that a lot of people have been wanting, to easily be able to share photos, especially with close family members and even friends. And what I love is the granular control you really have on who gets what photos, even when you take them, like at the moment of actually capturing them. So why don't you tell us about iCloud Photo Library?
So iCloud Shared Photo Library gives you a really easy way to share photos and videos with your family. And when you set it up, you get access to one shared photo library that you can share with up to 5 other family members. And what's great is it's so easy to get set up. You can just choose to include photos based on a specific start date, or you can include them based on the people inside those images. And when I set it for my family, I was totally surprised at all the images I'd never seen before. There were just so many photos when, my husband had taken of the family at various events, and now they were all part of our shared library. So it just blew me away to get to see them. And the experience of contributing to the library is really seamless too. You get a toggle in the camera app that lets you choose whether you're shooting directly into your shared library or your personal one. And if you're close to another participant in your library, there's this option to automatically save the photos you capture directly into the shared library. So if I'm out with my husband, the photos we take go right into the shared library and we don't have to remember to share them later. It's so seamless and easy to use.
So one of the other great features in macOS Ventura is new collaboration features. And so you can collaborate, starting it in messages and even starting it from the share menu in various apps. And so tell us more about the collaboration that you can do with Ventura.
Collaboration is obviously a very important experience. We know that it's possible to achieve so much more when you work together. So with Ventura, we focused on making it even easier to start your collaborations. And it all begins with that new updated share button where you now get two options for sharing. So you can choose to share a copy of a file or you can share a collaborative version. And then if you share through the Messages app, everyone on the thread gets added to the shared file and gets activity updates anytime somebody on that thread makes an edit. These enhancements just make it so much easier to kick off your collaborations. And to boot, you can even start a Messages thread or a FaceTime call right from your shared documents too.
And now this wasn't something as someone who covers Apple, I was disappointed in myself because I did not realize that Freeform, which was announced with iPad, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that actually coming to the Mac as well?
It is coming to the Mac and everybody is so thrilled. The Mac is where we sit to get work done. And with Freeform, you get this big, large canvas that's fantastic for ideation. People love using it to brainstorm new ideas, create diagrams, plan events. And you can add pretty much anything you need to work with, from photos and videos to PDFs, documents, and even web links. We think people are just going to love this. And of course, the app is fully collaborative, so you can easily work with your friends and build your new ideas together.
Also, this is such a small feature, but so big when in just quality of life improvements. FaceTime handoff, which with macOS Ventura now, you can, if you're on a FaceTime call on your phone or your iPad and you sit down at your desk, you could just switch it over and it's seamless and it's wonderful. So maybe you could talk about how, what is also the practical, like how do you do it or how does it work between those devices?
Yes. So FaceTime Handoff offers a very simple experience for transferring your calls. When you bring your devices close to one another, you'll see a notification that offers to switch the active call from your Mac to your iPhone. And if you click it, it will transfer the call to your Mac. And it works the other way too. So you can use the device that's most relevant to you in the moment.
And does it work across all, like iPhone to iPad to Mac and between all of them? I mean, you can switch between whatever you want, right?
Yeah, it's super cool. You can go Mac to iPhone, iPhone to Mac, iPad to Mac, and so on. You can really bounce around between all your different devices and take the call on the device that's most, convenient to you at that time.
And I have to say, I was not into tab groups at first, and I wasted time because in the past few months, I've gone all in, and tab groups are incredible, especially if you're a freelancer and maybe you have multiple clients or you just kind of have several different things you do. Having a tab group for each and just constantly referring back to them is awesome. And now to be able to share that or collaborate with it. I'm curious, do you use tab groups or how do you use tab groups personally? Is that something you use?
It's really nice to be able to use tab groups to separate my browsing. So for example, I can keep my work searches separate from my personal ones where I have a number of different tab groups for trips, shopping, parenting, and much more. And now with shared tab groups, you can bring a friend or family member into that experience. So let's say you're planning a trip with your friends, you can set up a shared tab group and then everyone can be adding their ideas, like check out these hotels or, maybe these flights, should we take these flights? And everyone sees those same links across their different devices. And then new tabs that people add also appear with this blue dot on top so that you know to check them out. And if you want to jump on a call to talk through those ideas live, you can do that. You just use that shared menu and you can quickly call everyone that's inside that shared tab group.
That's pretty sweet. One of my favorite features too, just a little tip, is if you have a tab group, let's say you were finding the best USB microphones to work with your iPad. If you have 7 or 8 tabs, there's actually these little 3 dots in that left sidebar in Safari, and you can copy all the URLs at once. So all those tabs, you can copy the URLs, and then if you're like me, you can run that through a shortcut on a list of URLs, format it however you like. It's really awesome. And so yeah, I love tab groups especially. But speaking of Safari and the web, I have to say, we didn't see this coming, but the iCloud redesign is incredible. That beta is available and you can go to it, beta.icloud.com, customize the dashboard and the homepage. Everything just is visually appealing. Talk to me about that redesign. What did you guys have in mind there?
As you know, I look after macOS, and what we found is that most people's first experience with an Apple device is with their iPhone. And the web is one of the easiest places for these users to see what's important to them in the cloud. So we've created a new design that makes it easier to see everything at a glance and manage all of your information, and people are just loving it. The new design is really more modular in nature. So on the homepage, you're going to see tiles for your web apps like Photos, Drive, and Contacts. And these tiles surface the most recent information in your apps, like new photos you've taken or files you've added. And users can click on any one of them to go deeper. And it's a really wonderful new design. We're really thrilled with just how excited people are about it.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, I use a lot of iCloud storage compared to my family members, and so it gives me a nice display of how much storage I am using compared to all of them. And we forgot to mention Stage Manager. You mentioned it in passing, but I love just there's so many options to manage your windows on the Mac. I've long been a spaces and expose guy. I really love my multiple desktop spaces and doing all that. But there's been a lot of people gravitating towards a new Stage Manager as well. Talk to me about Stage Manager.
Yes, Stage Manager is a totally new way to manage your windows that helps you both focus on what you're doing while also making it even easier to switch between your open apps and projects. And what it does is it takes all those cluttered windows on your desktop and it neatly organizes them by app on the left-hand side of your screen. And it also displays your active app front and center. It really makes for a great environment for getting work done. And it's super easy to switch between windows. You just click on them and then they come right onto the center stage. Plus, if you're like me and tend to work on projects, you can drag multiple apps onto the stage and use them all together. And Stage Manager even remembers how you group things. So if you ever disable it and then re-enable it quickly, you can get right back to your groups. It's really handy. And if you're a fan of spaces or mission control, you can use those in concert with Stage Manager, letting you work just the way you like.
So let's talk just final tips, even if it's not macOS Ventura related, but just macOS related, because there's so many little things that I don't think people are aware of. I know for me, two of my favorites, the ability to rename files quickly. I think people manually change names of individual files in a row. And if you don't know, on a Mac, you can select as many files as you want, right-click, rename, and then there's a built-in renaming tool. You can even do custom name with an index and number it from 0 going on up to however many files you have, format a name. Love that renaming feature. And also, there's a great feature, a paste and match style, if people aren't familiar with that. And the keyboard shortcut, I just do it so naturally, Shift, Option, Command, V. But paste and match style is just so amazing to be able to take a piece of text from anywhere, paste it in a document or in a web browser, and not have to worry about whatever formatting came from the other place, wherever you copied it from. Any other little tips or maybe ways that you use the Mac personally that might help someone else?
Hot corners are a longtime favorite of mine. You can use them to launch mission control, to put your display to sleep. You can also use it with Quick Note to take a note on the fly. One other really fun feature that I love is desktop stacks. So we talked earlier about Stage Manager, which is the modern way of organizing your windows, and desktop stacks is similar in that it helps you organize all the cluttered files on your desktop. And it keeps those files neatly organized into tidy stacks that are organized by kind. I think you'll find that immensely helpful if you're not using it today. Now, something else that I think is quite popular is screenshots. A lot of longtime Mac users probably have all those different key combinations completely memorized. But if you don't, and maybe you're new to Mac, the one that I tell people to memorize is Command-Shift-5, because it brings up this dedicated GUI for screenshots that's packed with all the functionality you need. So as you'd expect, you can capture the entire screen, a portion of it. Plus, you can even use it to kick off a screen recording or adjust your save location. It's so powerful. So I just memorize that one and you'll be totally good.
Two quick ones for me too. I love, and if you're looking at an image or a video file, you can actually convert or even render videos in different formats right from the Finder. You don't even have to open an application. Like you can right-click an image and convert it, JPEG to PNG, or if it's a video file, you can encode it, audio only, and all those features are right in the Finder. No third-party application needed. And another thing I always recommend for people is set up your own keyboard shortcuts. If you go to System Settings now and you go to Keyboard, you can set up your own quick shortcuts there. And I'll even do things for emoji. I have like :smirk will do the smirk emoji, and so I don't have to look in the emoji picker. I could just do it :smirk, and it'll just do the smirk emoji. And Even things like Apple Watch or Apple Pay, where I want the little Apple symbol, but I don't want to jump into the Unicode like character picker. I will autocorrect iWatch, which I know is sacrilegious, but that's the little shortcut I use. iWatch or iPay, and it will actually convert the I to the little Apple Unicode symbol. So if I want to tweet it or write it with the Apple symbol, just quick ways to do that in keyboard shortcuts. You got anything else? Anything else for us? Any other quick tips for our viewers or listeners?
Totally. On the theme of emoji, a lot of people don't even realize that you can just press the globe key and then macOS brings up the emoji picker. It's so handy to be able to just do that.
And you could search for an emoji. And a cool thing is, if you don't know what an emoji is called, I know you can do this on iPhone. You can tell me if you do that on the Mac, but you can turn on in accessibility to speak a selection. And so if you go to settings accessibility on iPhone, you can turn on speak selection. And then you can actually select an emoji as if you were going to copy and paste it. But instead of hit copy paste, you hit speak, and it will actually tell you what that emoji is called audibly. You know, your phone will do that. And then you'll know what to search for later when you want to use that emoji in like a text field. So just a little quick tip for everybody.
That is awesome. I didn't even know you could do that. You know, one of the amazing things about working on an operating system is that it is deep and wide, and there's so much to dig into. So pretty cool. Now, one last tip, because it is so cool and a bit hidden. So if you double right click on a YouTube video in Safari, you can put it in a pip. And that saved me during the pandemic.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
It's the best trick ever.
So you're talking about if you're in Safari and then a video is playing, and then what do? Do you double left or right click it?
Double right click or command click if you don't have that set up. And then you can choose to play it in a pip, which is awesome. And that saved me during the pandemic daycare closures. You know, at times I would have my son watching Thomas the Train while I was working.
I have an entire extension installed just to be able to do that. I did not realize you could. I have, because that's another thing is, you know, Safari had extensions several years ago, but I use Overpicture, which is a great Safari extension, and you can shortcut it with just the letter P. And so if I'm watching a YouTube video or any internet video and I hit the letter P on my keyboard, it goes into a picture-in-picture automatically, which, you know, if people don't know, the benefit there is it stays on top of whatever windows you're navigating throughout the OS, rather than just having it play in a background window. You can still see it, you know, right there on your screen. So, yeah, love picture-in-picture for sure. Well, any other final tips?
I think being able to make a phone call from any number that you see on the system just by clicking it is really cool. It's also possible to copy and paste between your iPhone and Mac and the other way around. I have to say, there are so many fantastic tips and tricks out there for macOS, and it was really fun to share some of my favorites today.
And I'll give one more tip for our viewers, but if you need to share screen with someone, maybe you need to offer technical help with someone remotely, or you want to be able to share your screen with someone, Messages actually has that built in. And so if you're in an iMessage with someone on the Mac, click the little eye icon in the top right of the conversation, and there's a share button right there, and you can either ask to share the other person's screen, or you can share your own screen and even control it. So if you're trying to do some technical help, someone has a Mac, you can control their screen right in Messages. You don't even need third-party applications. So very powerful feature, I think, and very cool. Trisha, thank you so much for coming on, talking about macOS Ventura, and appreciate all the tips. And you can find these in the shorts, and we'll cut them up everywhere. But I appreciate you coming on.
It's been great. So fun to be here today.